Thank you for those kind words, Sonny. I want to talk to you today as a doctor, a physician. And I have a granddaughter, and I am so angry that she is not going to have the same rights that I've had all my adult life. It is just not fair, and we're going to have to do something about that. Since I'm a grandma, I actually lived in the era before Roe, and I was in medical school before Roe was passed. And I remember a day when I was on rotation in the emergency room, and this young 15-year-old girl came in, bleeding profusely vaginally. The doctors all rushed. As a medical student, I just stood there and looked, but they had to give her several pints of blood and had to whisk her up to the surgery. Her mom was beside herself. She was crying. She had no idea what was going on. It turned out that her daughter had tried to induce an abortion with a knitting needle. And in doing that, she had ruptured her uterus and was bleeding profusely from that. Luckily, she did survive. Her mother had no idea that she was even dating, let alone that she was pregnant. And so, having worked many years with teens, parents, we're the last to know about anything. And we need to protect our kids. We need to give them information, but they still need to have a choice. We still need to have a choice. In Texas, since they are ahead of us with the bill that they passed, there has been an increase to 4% of women doing self-induced abortions. And most of them are using it by a pill called mistropolol that they're getting illegally from Mexico. You can get it legally from a physician, but probably the doctors now are afraid, to give it. Here in Ohio, if a doctor helps, they can have, I think it's a 5th-degree felony. So it's going to be harder and harder to get the kind of care that we all need. And health care is a right. This is our right. They're taking away our right. And we can't let that happen. I had a friend who, at about 18 weeks, they discovered she had something called trisomy 13 in her infant. And if you know anything about that, that means the infant's going to be born without very good cardiac or doesn't have much of a brain. And so usually they live maybe a day or 2 or 3. And so a lot of women elect to have an abortion at that point. It's not clear if that would be legal or not. The words in the law says if it's not a viable, if it's going to be an inevitable abortion. So that's pretty unclear what they mean by that. They also say if there's high blood pressure and preeclampsia, that would be a reason. And the last one would be if you have a ruptured membranes really early. But there's a whole lot of other medical things that can go wrong. You can have a pregnancy that grows right in the fallopian tube. And if you remember your anatomy from high school, it's just a tiny little tube. And as a baby grows in it, it will eventually rupture the tube, go into the abdominal cavity, start bleeding, and a woman can die from it. So this is not good for our health. It's not good for our children's health, and we have to do something about it. My opponent, who I usually don't say her name, but I will tonight, her name is Christina Rogner. She wrote and sponsored the first heartbeat bill and voted for it twice. And I've heard through the grapevine she's trying to sponsor a bill to outlaw all abortions. Some of you out there are mental health workers. If you've ever worked with someone who's been raped or a victim of incest, it's a horrible, traumatic thing to go through. And then to find out you're pregnant and find that you've got to carry that baby, that's unlawful. We can't let that happen. So, Ohio, we have to move forward. We can't We can't go backwards. We've got to move forwards. We've got to think ahead. And perhaps we didn't think ahead enough, and our opponents did, but we can catch up. And we really have to vote these people out that are doing this. So this is a wonderful crowd, and I think that we've got the energy, and we're all going to do something about this, and thank you.